Undercover CEO visits his own company's new office, uses a wheelchair to test the employees, but the result will give him only sleepless nights. A 72-year-old man in a rain-soaked coat rolled silently through the high-tech glass doors of a San Francisco office building. His hands trembled on the rusted wheels of an old squeaky wheelchair. His coat was threadbare. His eyes carried the weight of decades. Employees looked up from sleek MacBooks, confused, annoyed. One whispered, "Who let a homeless guy in?" Another joked, "Lost his nursing home?" But what they didn't know was that he built the building they were standing in. He hired the leaders they followed. He designed the mission they now ignored. And the reason he was there today? He'd read something the night before that tore him apart. An anonymous email. No name, no title, just heartbreak. They laughed at my limp. They called me diversity hire. I'm not looking for revenge. I just thought you should know what your company's become. So instead of making a call, Michael Garrett rolled in to witness it for himself, not to hand out promotions, but to test their character. Before we dive into my favorite story, I want to take a moment to talk to you, the one person who means the most to me in all this. You. Yes, you. I want you to know that every story I tell, every lesson I share, is for you. You matter more to me than anything, and your support in sharing these stories means the world. If you believe in what we're doing here, help spread the word. Please subscribe and share with your friends. Your support helps me keep going and bring more of these important stories to light. Now let's get to it. Michael Garrett wasn't born with a silver spoon. He was born with calloused hands and dirt under his nails. As a kid in rural Kansas, he scavenged scrap metal from ditches just to buy milk for his baby sister. He'd come home with rust on his shirt and hope in his pocket. A few coins at most. At 12, his world shattered. His father, a machinist, was crushed under a collapsed platform. The last words Michael ever heard him say were, "Take care of your mom." So he did. He mopped hospital floors at night, the scent of bleach his bedtime lullaby. And between shifts, he'd sit in the hallway under flickering fluorescent lights, piecing together programming manuals from the trash bin outside the local library. When other teens were at prom, Michael was debugging code on borrowed computers. At 24, he landed his first real job in healthcare IT. A miracle, he thought. 6 months later, he was fired for doing the right thing, reporting a supervisor for inflating Medicare claims. They called him too idealistic. At 30, he married his college sweetheart, Anna. She was his calm, his compass, a school teacher with a laugh that softened everything. They dreamed of a simple life, a little house, a son named Eli. But by 35, Anna was gone, ovarian cancer. Michael had held her hand through every chemo session, whispered promises through hospital walls, buried his world in a quiet cemetery under the oaks. And just when he thought grief had taken all it could, at 37, life delivered one more blow. His only son, Eli, 10 years old, wide-eyed, brilliant, was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. "He'll be in a wheelchair full-time by 14, the doctor said. "There's no cure." That night, Michael sat on the floor beside Eli's bed, watching his boy sleep, so small under the blankets, his arms wrapped around a worn-out toy robot. Tears streamed down Michael's face as he whispered, "I'll build something, Eli. A company where people like you are seen, not pitied, not laughed at, respected, celebrated." At 19, Eli passed away in his sleep. Michael didn't speak for a week. Then he picked up his son's wheelchair, polished it, and placed it in his office as a reminder. A promise made. That was the birth of Garrett Dynamics. Not just a tech company, a mission, a movement, built on accessibility, compassion, and grit. He didn't hire for Ivy League degrees or glossy resumes. He hired survivors, veterans with PTSD, single moms rebuilding, people others overlooked. And for years it worked. They grew. Offices expanded. Investors came knocking. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. Layers formed. Leaders distanced. Smiles became scripts. Empathy turned into quarterly targets. Then last week it happened. An anonymous email. No name. No formatting. Just pain. They laughed at my limp. called me diversity hire, said my stutter was embarrassing. I don't want justice. I just want you to know, this isn't the company you build anymore. Michael sat in his office and stared at the screen for hours. He didn't eat, didn't sleep. The next morning before sunrise, he went to the attic. There, under a dusty tarp, was Eli's old wheelchair. Michael brushed off the cobwebs, ran his fingers along the worn leather arms, closed his eyes, and without a word to anyone, he sat down, rolled out of the house, got on a flight, and hours later rolled through the gleaming glass doors of Garrett Dynamics' San Francisco office. Disguised, alone, unannounced, not to be honored, but to see the truth. The lobby of Garrett Dynamics' San Francisco office looked more like a luxury showroom than a workplace. Polished marble floors reflected every overhead light. Giant LED panels flickered with buzzwords: innovate, disrupt, influence. It smelled like expensive cologne and ambition. Michael wheeled through the massive glass doors. No one noticed. Everyone walked fast, earbuds in, eyes locked on phones, dressed in $1,000 sneakers, oversized hoodies, and confidence. At the front desk, a young receptionist with perfectly curled hair scrolled through her phone, laughing at a meme. Michael rolled up slowly. She didn't even glance at him. "Excuse me," he said softly. "I'm here to apply." She blinked twice, finally looking up. Confusion crept across her face, then mild irritation. "You lost, sir?" "No, ma'am," he replied, calm as ever. "I'm here to apply. For a job." She raised a single brow, scanned his flannel shirt, faded jeans, and weathered hands resting on the wheelchair wheels. Then the smirk. "To what, sir? Clean windows?" She laughed lightly, as if she were doing him a favor by making it a joke. "Because we already have janitorial staff." Michael smiled, tired but warm, just looking for a fair shot. She rolled her eyes. "Third floor, HR. Good luck, Grandpa." As he turned toward the elevator, two nearby employees chuckled. "Bro, is he applying? Dude's probably still running Windows 95. Michael said nothing, but his grip on the wheelchair tightened just slightly. He was used to this, people judging what they saw, not what he carried inside. The elevator opened to a sleek, open-plan floor bathed in natural light and filled with glass-walled conference rooms. No one greeted him. Not the passing engineer wearing noise-canceling headphones. Not the marketing associate snapping selfies on the company-branded beanbag. Michael rolled to the HR desk and checked in, then waited. 10 minutes turned to 30, 30 to an hour. By the second hour, he was still there, back straight, eyes focused, while people whispered and snickered. One young intern walked by, filming him for TikTok. Another posted a photo to their Instagram story. Why do tech offices always attract weirdos? Michael saw the phone screens. He saw the judgment. But what hurt more was how normal it was for them, like he'd stopped being a human the second he rolled through the door. Finally, a voice called from across the hall. "Garrett, you're up." He rolled into a frosty conference room. 3 managers sat around a glass table. Megan from HR, perfectly polished, tapping a pen impatiently. Connor from product, slouched back, AirPods still in. Lisa from ops, eyes glued to her tablet. Megan didn't look up. "We're swamped. Let's make it quick." Michael handed her a printed resume, a little wrinkled, printed from his old HP desk printer the night before. She looked at it, really looked, and then a sharp, sudden laugh. "BASIC. COBOL?" she scoffed, turning it to Connor. "This is like reading a dinosaur's diary." Connor snorted. "He probably thinks TikTok is a clock." Lisa giggled under her breath. "We don't really hire charity cases." Michael didn't flinch. "I'm not asking for pity," he said quietly. "Just a chance to prove myself." Megan leaned forward with a tight smile. "There's always the janitor role. It's night shift, no tech required, and it's seated." The room erupted in laughter. Connor held his stomach. Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. Megan grinned like she'd made the joke of the year. Michael sat silently, not ashamed, but heavy, because for all the progress his company had claimed to make, The diversity panels, the feel-good commercials. This moment showed the truth. They didn't see him. Not the boy who built software by candlelight. Not the man who buried his wife. Not the father who spent every night reading tech manuals to a son who couldn't move his legs. Not the founder whose dream was to give them a place to belong. Just a wheelchair, a relic, a punchline. He rolled himself out without another word, his dignity in pieces. But as the elevator doors closed behind him, his jaw tightened. They may have forgotten why Garrett Dynamics existed, but he hadn't. His mission wasn't dead. In the elevator, a janitor approached quietly. He looked about 22, Latino, kind eyes. "Sir?" he asked. "You okay?" Michael nodded, a bit surprised. "You're Michael Garrett, right?" Michael froze. The janitor continued. "My mom worked for your Phoenix office. You gave her a job when nobody else would. After my dad died, you saved us. She told me if I ever met you, to say thank you." Michael's eyes filled. "What's your name, son?" "Luis Martinez. I clean nights, study coding in the mornings." Michael looked at him. "You're the reason I started all this. Don't ever forget that." The next morning, the San Francisco office pulsed with nervous energy. New client presentation, execs visiting, everyone dressed sharp, talking fast, over-smiling. Then the elevator dinged, heads turned, and silence fell like a thunderclap. Out rolled a man they barely recognized. Gone was the faded flannel, the tired jeans. Now in its place, a perfectly tailored navy suit that hugged broad shoulders and rested softly against the arms of a man who had endured. A soft glint from his wedding ring. Eyes that had seen war zones made of hospital waiting rooms. And behind him, the full executive board, stone-faced and solemn. Megan, halfway through her iced latte, froze mid-sip. Her face went pale. Connor dropped his AirPods. They hit the ground with a hollow clatter. Lisa backed into her desk like she'd seen a ghost. Her lips moved before her voice caught up. "No, it can't be." Michael stopped in the center of the office. He looked around, slowly, calmly. He reached for the mic at the front desk, tapped it once. The click echoed through the now breathless room, and then he spoke. His voice was clear, strong, but underneath it trembled with memory. "Good morning. I'm Michael Garrett, founder of this company, and the man you laughed at yesterday." Gasps rippled like a gust of wind, but Michael didn't flinch. He leaned forward. "I built Garrett Dynamics in honor of my son, Eli, a boy who spent most of his life in a wheelchair, but never once asked the world for pity. All he wanted was to be seen, treated like he mattered." A pause. Michael's voice cracked, just slightly, enough to feel the cost. This company was never meant to be about apps, code, or quarterly growth. It was meant to be about people, fighters, survivors, the ones who've been counted out and keep showing up. He scanned the crowd and letting his gaze land, one by one. Then, he turned to face the glass wall where Megan, Connor, and Lisa stood stiff, breath caught in their throats. "Yesterday, I came to test something. Not your skills, not your resumes, your hearts." You could hear a pin drop. Megan, Connor, Lisa, each name sliced through the silence. "You're terminated, effective immediately." Megan's mouth dropped open. "Wait, please, I didn't." You laughed in the face of someone who reminded you of nothing but your own discomfort. You degraded a man you didn't know. You mocked the very soul this company was built on. Connor took a shaky step forward. "Sir, I didn't mean to." Michael's eyes sharpened, voice quiet, but firm. "You meant every word. And that's the problem," Lisa whispered, tears brimming. "We were just following culture." "No, you were shaping it." More gasps. A few clapped a hand to their mouths. Others turned away ashamed. Michael looked out again at the crowd, at the interns, the engineers, the assistants, the ones who never spoke but always watched. Then he locked eyes with someone near the back. Luis Martinez. A young man looked up, stunned. His hands shook around the iPad he was holding. "You're now head of people and culture. I've seen how you treat people. I've seen you stop to listen, to help, to care. Your first order of business?" Michael turned back to the crowd. "Make this place human again. Tears broke through. Some quietly wept. Others stood and applauded, unable to hold back. Louis stepped forward, trembling. "Sir, I don't know what to say." Michael reached out, pulled him into a hug, a long one. "Say you'll lead with your heart. The rest will follow." A standing ovation erupted, and for the first time in years, Garrett Dynamics remembered who it was. In the months that followed, everything changed. Training was rewritten, policies restructured. Every new hire watched the video of Michael's visit as their first task. And in the lobby, above the front desk, where the receptionist once mocked him, a new plaque was installed. "We don't hire resumes. We hire humans. Michael Garrett." Beside it, a photo. Michael and young Eli, smiling in their garage, surrounded by wires and computer parts. The caption, "He couldn't walk, but he carried me."